Yeah, another. The clock just turned 1:30. I think the only person we're missing is, or two people, right?
Cheryl and Derek.
Oh, let's see. What do we only have four of them?
Yeah, we do. Oh, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you have 5.
Okay.
In terms of like the 6 committees plus the officers.
Right. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get started then. Hopefully, Derek and.
Oh, Derek is here. Yay.
Derek. All right.
Hello, Derek.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Okay.
There you are.
I'm gonna the executive committee meeting to order now. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's executive committee meeting. My name is Ken Louie, Chair of the Workforce Development Council, and we have a busy agenda, so I'd like to call to our meeting to order at 1:30 p.m. Okay. This is a public meeting under the open meeting law. The committee members and public guests are viewing in Zoom, and we have staff at the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations office, room 317, in case members and guests wish to meet at an on-site location. To start the meeting and to document in the minutes, I will be doing a roll call of our executive committee members, after which I would like our guests to introduce themselves with their name and organization. Okay, so Angela, may I turn it over to you, our Hele Mu intern, to make a roll call?
Yes. Okay, so just unmute and say here when I call your name. Ken Louie.
Here, present.
Carrie Miyashiro.
Here.
Donovan Dela Cruz is excused. Keith DeMello.
Here.
Dion Dizon.
Here.
Tui Scanlon is excused. Carla Kurokawa.
Here.
Sean Knox is excused. Trey Malone is excused. Cheryl Cross, not here yet. Lorna Wu.
Here.
And Derek Kanahira.
Here.
Thank you.
Right. As stated in our bylaws, the executive committee is composed of the WDC chair, the vice chair, the assistant vice chair, and the chair or vice chairs of each of the 6 committees, or a total of 9 members. The quorum requirement is then at 5, and for the record, we do have quorum this afternoon with how many members present?
8.
Oh,
Okay.
did Cheryl come on?
Oh, no, not yet. Okay, you're right. 7. So with Cheryl will be 8.
Okay. I think I see a guest. May I ask the other members on Zoom to introduce themselves? Possible, please.
We can start. Kelly Kiteva, staff, WDC.
Okay.
Angela Chalk, staff intern with the WDC.
Evan Palmer, staff of the WDC.
Bennett Misalucha, executive director.
Thank you, Bennett. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. The executive committee packet was circulated, and we hope you've had the opportunity to review the minutes of June 4th, 2025. So let's take a quick minute to review the minutes, and that is on starting page 9 of the packet, I see. About 6, 7 pages. Okay, motion to approve them.
So moved. This is Dion.
Harry, have a second.
Thank you. All in favors? Oh, let's try this. Anyone wishing to vote no or abstain? And all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Hearing none, the minutes have been approved. Okay, The next item on the agenda is the fiscal reports, and I'd like our Executive Director, Bennett Mizalucha, to give us an update on our finances.
Great, thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Aloha. Please refer to page 19 of your packet, because that's where we're going to be discussing the highlights of our fiscal situation or for fiscal condition. So the first report that you see is the WIOA grant summary report as of May 31st, 2025. So if you look at that first page, it reflects both the program year 2022 and program year 2023. So under that heading, are we making sure that, can you refer to the slide? Oh, actually, we don't have that on our slide, sorry. So you have that on your packet, though, page 19. So if you take a look at the first page, under the heading PY 2022, you will first note that the state of Hawaii was allocated 10.3 million in WIOA funds. I hope you're following me. And about 60% or 6.3 million was spent, and it left 3.9 million to be returned to the state by the local area. So that 3.9 is what we have often been referring to as unexpended funds. So you'll see that same number when you go to that second subset, and the first column is that amount, which is the 3.9. So if you recall, we do not want to return unexpended funds to the feds. So if you take a look at that, it has zeros as of May 31. That's a good thing. So let's now go to the next subgroup, which is PY 2023. And you will note that a total of 10.1 million had been allocated to the state of Hawaii. And you'll see the breakdown or the distribution to the local areas. So as of May 31st, the local areas have been able to spend about 50% of their allocation. So the balance as of May is still a little more than 4.3 million. However, we had a coordination meeting yesterday, and we're told that several invoices are in the pipeline, and the counties are predicting that there will be about 2.7 or 2.3 million that will be returned to the state. And again, best guess as unexpended funds. So we'll keep you apprised at the next meeting when we have solid numbers, and by then we would have the figures as of June 30th. So now we go to page 20.
Bennett, this is
Yes.
Derek. Sorry. Going back to the prior page, the table in the middle of the page, where it says statewide from unexpended funds, the fourth column, the third and fourth are both encumbrances.
Yes.
Can you
So what?
briefly
Yes.
explain what? Okay.
Sure. So there are funds that have been encumbered that may not have been spent, but it's already promised. So we're counting that as being spent, so that when we do a forecast, we're knowing full well that those encumbrances, it's a matter of time that the invoices will be paid. So at the bottom line would that be that it will be a zero. So we won't have any balances as of that for that program year. Because yeah, so the spent and the encumbrances together would be the total expenditures. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, Bennett,
Yes.
when is a deadline to spend the PY 23 funds?
Okay. So the PY 2023 funds would be June 30th, 20. So it's a 3-year. So if 2023, the next 3 years is 2026. So we're in the middle of the PY 2023 now. So that's for the state to spend. Okay. So if it's 2023, you count 2 years. That is the unexpended funds that's given to the state to spend, and the state has 1 year, and it will lapse. And that's what I meant by it will be done by June 30th, 2026. Whatever funds are not spent by the state and the local areas by June 30, 2026 will need to revert back to the feds, and we don't want that. That would be a travesty.
The providers still have access to the PY23 funds, or that finished June 30, 25?
Correct. It finished 2025, June 30, 2025.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So we're now entering PY 2024, right? So on page 20, you have the detailed look of the PY 2022 numbers, and there's a breakdown there per county and per program. So moving on to page 21, you will see the breakdown for PY 2023. And this is the one that just ended June 30th. And I want to call your attention to the percentages of what the counties have spent. Again, it is still below expectations, below 50%. But amongst that, at least Honolulu and Maui are holding up on youth services. And then Maui and Honolulu are, adult services. And then for youth services, Maui and Honolulu as well. So those two are both adult and youth services. Big Island, however, dominates for the dislocated worker program. So unfortunately, as you can tell, we continue to have challenges on the island of Kauai. For instance, they've only been able to spend 15% of their youth budget. Any questions? So we move on to page 22, and on page 22, you will see the breakdown of PY 2024. So to your question, Carla, they started to access this as of July 1, 2025. But as you can tell, there's no activity yet because we just started the program year and no invoices have been paid. So on page 23, that is the forecast of expenses for PY 2023, where the fiscal office expects them to land. But again, there's a lot of fluidity in the numbers. Like I was mentioning, when we did the huddle the other day, the counties are saying about 2.3. But at least we have a range within which we know that those unexpended funds, what that number is. And the reason why it's important is for planning purposes, because if once we have the forecast, we're able to project what kind of initiatives or projects we can spend it on that are statewide activities. Questions? Okay, so please turn to the next page, and the next page is important and will need some board action. So allow me to explain. So this is for our general appropriations funds that was allocated to us by the legislature. It is found under program ID LBR1 or LBR 135. So this is on page 24, just making sure. So if you recall, in July 21, 2024, last year, after our status was restored as an attached agency, the legislature also gave us, in addition to the federal funds being given under our LBR 135, we were also given some general appropriation funds to the tune of $455,000. So that amount is again also given to us as of last year and this year. So we have two subsets in your packet. That first subset is a spending plan for the current year. And then the next subset will be the proposed budget for the FY 2027. So when I talked about the board action, please note that the executive committee vets this, and then it will then move forward to the general or the full board meeting, which is happening on August 20th. So let me begin with the spending plans for FY 2026. So I want to underscore that budgeting is really easier if you have some track record. For those of you who are executives and take a look at your company's budgets, if you know exactly what, the prior year spending, you're able to project and have a better semblance of understanding. But we're starting from ground zero, so I ask for your patience and understanding as we get our sea legs, as we gain a better understanding of the budget process. So we start off with the fact that the governor's office requires and mandates 10% savings, automatic. So then next line item, we anticipate that there may be personnel needs that may not be covered under WIOA's admin budget. So we're allocating for that, but that there may be some rules that we need to navigate, and we're still navigating that. So line 3 and 4 are the details still need to be fleshed out. One is a possible workforce studies that we're hoping to fund, and then because it fulfills the role for us as a analyzer of workforce landscape. So we also would like to spend some of the funds for grants. And for these two TBDs, or the details of which are still going to be developed, we intend to have working groups from the board to develop those details. So, and then the next few items are conferences, both the ones that we're sponsoring and the ones where we're going to be initiating for the staff to go to. So we have 2 conferences that we're hoping to organize within the next program year. One is, of course, the Future of Work Conference, and then the Employers Boot Camp that our Employer Engagement Committee Chair, Derek Kanahira, and I have talked, and with a possibility of partnering with another organization. So the total bottom line is 452,000 plus 500. So any questions related to the spending plan?
I have a question, Bennett.
Yes.
For the NGA functions, the summer and winter conference, is that covered under this or under the WIOA?
So both, yeah. So whatever can be covered by WIOA, we usually tap into the federal funds first. But then there are some where the Future of Work was difficult to fund with WIOA. So we're with the Future of Work Conference, for instance, we're bringing in our board members and staff from the neighbor islands. The workforce development heroes will also be brought in. So all those cannot be covered by WIOA. We supplement whatever expenses we have that are not covered by federal funds with the GA funds.
Understood. Okay, I see Cheryl Cross has her hand up.
Yeah, Cheryl.
Welcome.
Aloha, and sorry for being 10 minutes late. I'm so excited about this. Thank you so much for all your hard work. I see that you talked through it a bit on the personnel, the added FTE, which is very encouraging. And I hope you're paying those folks very well and to keep them. But also I see a shift here between, what was it, the grants. So I see you did a little bit of maneuvering between the workforce analysis grants and then the grants, which is not, I just wanted to know if you could voice track that a little bit more for me.
Sure.
Everything else looks really consistent.
And the devil will be in the details. Yeah, Cheryl. So for the grants for the studies, we're hoping to, because I think we know that there's some grants are coming out of UHERO, but none that are particularly focused on workforce development. So we'd like to initiate efforts towards that goal. So for instance, AI is such a big thing, but we want to be able to put a handle on that, try to understand that better, or even a study on what our employers are offering in terms of fringe benefits. That is important as well. Now, you and Rona for Pillar 3 had another study that escapes my memory right now that you would like some funding on. So that would be the fund that would be allocated for that. And again, we're going to develop rules for that, eligibility rules, and being able to manage that part. But pivot to the grants, it can be a micro grant, it can be to a nonprofit or whatever the case may be. But again, right now I don't have specifics because I'm hoping that our working groups would come up with those details so that then they can be presented to the full board for a blessing and then implemented.
Okay. No, that answers my question. It was a workforce analysis gap for Pillar 3, just to remind those folks who weren't in the meeting that we had at the community college. But yes, and we would love to propose that. We've also spoken to third-party entities. Matt Stevens at the Hawaii Workforce Funders Collective is interested. So, we're gonna look and see what other options we have as well if these funds aren't available. So thank you so much for clarifying that for us.
Okay, thank you. So if I may move on, Chair, to the proposed budget.
Annette, this is Derek. So sorry.
Oh yeah,
Real
no,
quick
not at
question,
all.
just to clarify, I see it in the notes, but for personnel, it
Oh.
says salaries, and so we don't need to budget for benefits or any additional.
Yeah, so here's the interesting part about that I'm also learning. If you charge federal funds with personnel costs or admin costs, you have to put in fringe benefits in addition to the salaries.
Mhm.
But if you're using GA funds, A funds or general appropriation funds, you do not have to.
Oh,
It
good.
is just salary. Yeah. So,
Okay.
and again, there's still some nuances, and I would be happy to pick up the phone and explain to you, but something about the source of funds is important. So we're trying to navigate it internally, how we can do that, because on record, these are federally funded personnel. So to use GA funds, I'm not sure whether we can do it. So, or if we can, do we ask for a waiver? Who do we ask a waiver to? So there's still some, I guess, research that we need to conduct in order to arrive at that. But I want to be able to at least provide for it. And if we don't spend it, by the way, these funds are lapsing after a year. They cannot be rolled over to the following year. So we have to spend it. And so if, for instance, again, because we don't have that track record to speak of, if we're not able to use the personnel funds and we know that it would have to go through legislative process to be able to accomplish it, we can take the 90,000 and put it on for the grants, right? So we can maneuver it and manage it so that then what is the best use of those resources?
Okay, thank you. So quick follow-up question is, and not to belabor this, but if we are able to hire personnel, 1 or 2 individuals, does that automatically then carry over to your budget the following year, or do we need to get an approval each year for those positions?
Well, if we are able to budget it within the existing budget that they're giving us, then it's okay,
Then it's
right?
okay.
Yeah. However, even an additional FTE would need to go through legislative action. So if you look at the proposed budget, so for instance, we are so stretched thin because we don't have admin support. I have program specialists for people who are doing travel, processing and things like that, which really, as you know, is not strategic use of their time. So we're hoping to ask for 1 FTE for clerical, and that's going to happen for not until the legislature approves it within the next legislative session. So July 1st conceivably would be the first, would be the earliest that we could have an admin support paid out of GA funds. However, what we're going to be doing is hopefully through the very good Hele Imua program, taken, interns that could provide for that additional support that we're looking for.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. And I really appreciate the questions, because that really means that you guys are involved, because I think those kind of questions are the ones that allow us to all understand the process even together, right? So moving on for PY 2027, this is the proposed plan that we will be submitting to DLIR. So DLIR, as far as, again, the process, DLIR takes all the agencies under their purview and puts it together for the governor's package. So that process needs to be completed by September. And that's why we're doing this, because the executive committee needs to vet it, and then it gets sent to the full board meeting in August, and then hopefully submitted to DLIR by September. But as you can see, it kind of mirrors the PY 2026 or FY 2026 line items, except for the personnel, which is higher because we're hoping to add one more FTE. But the total is the same, 452 out of the 455 that has been given to us. So, Chair, unless there's any questions, any additional questions, I'd like to now turn it over to you for board action.
Okay.
And the plan is to have one board action for both proposals, just to be efficient.
Okay, any further questions, comments, discussion on this item? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion, as Bennett mentioned, for the executive committee to approve both budgets, fiscal year 2026 and 2027, and advance it to the full council for their approval.
So
Do I have
moved.
them?
So
Thank
moved.
you, Carrie. And a second?
Second.
Your second. Oh,
Okay, I heard a
your,
number.
so.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone wishing to abstain or say no? Okay, it's a motion carries. All right, you're up next again, Bennett.
I know, sorry, you're gonna
provide a
pick it.
status report. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, but different topics though, all hopefully interesting to you. So for unexpended funds, so on your packet, you will find a report on the 6 projects which are being supported with unexpended funds. So I don't know what page that is, but so I've been reporting about them on a regular basis. So I hope you're familiar with them already by now, but just a few highlights that if I may point out. One is that the American Job Center Awareness Campaign went into full throttle starting on June 30th, and it will go on until September. So we have Becker Communications, who's a contractor for this project, who will be making a presentation at the full board meeting in August. So has anyone seen the ad featuring Augie and Passion?
I love Passion. I've been
Yes.
following her since she was, well, for a couple of years now on Instagram. I'm so thrilled that we picked an influencer, and Augie, he's radio, so I love radio guys.
So we're trying to track. It's, as you know, sometimes it's difficult to to show whether there has been an impact. But I also want to single out that this idea of doing an awareness campaign came out of the Special Projects Committee chaired by Keith DeMello. So kudos to the Special Projects Committee for their insights on this. The other project I'd like to highlight is the project number 6, which is the fiscal training the GA team, which was our contractor, composed of former Department of Labor officials or administrators, conducted a fiscal training. And the intent, and we had about 40 participants from all the neighbor islands, and they brought their fiscal and program officers. And the intent is really to ensure alignment and make sure that our information is current. And there's also an effort to update the current WIOA policies in the state. So, Chair, that's my report. Are there any questions for this portion of the agenda?
Anyone? No questions? Guess who's up again? Is that you, Deb?
Okay, this is the final. Okay, so please turn to page 30 of your packet for the start of the report. And I think for this one, can you put up the slides, Evan?
Yes. And it moves up now.
Okay, this is, okay, for the ED report. Okay. So note though that we have a slideshow from pages 30 to 38, but there's a full written narrative of the annual report that can be found on pages 39 to 56. And we will also have that copy on the website if you want to, peruse it. If you want to fall asleep, no, I'm kidding. So in the interest of time, Chair, so I just want to provide some highlights. So starting on page 31 again. So go ahead. Yeah, so these are the major accomplishments this year. I'm not going to belabor a lot of these points, but I wanted to just mention that these milestones were achieved even as the council was going through a period of transition, and during which for 9 months the ED served as the only staff member. In addition to these items, would like to add that we also established ourselves as a convener in the past year, assisting in the setup of the transportation sector partnership efforts, the long-term care health initiatives. We also organize such events as the Future of Work Conference, the Workforce Heroes Program, and various seminars, including State of the Economy, featuring our economists, Dr. Paul Brubaker and Dr. Seth Colby. So lastly, we'd like to point out that after 2 years, I think we're starting to establish ourselves as the voice for workforce development. So we've been asked to speak at major gatherings, including most recently the Hawaii Employers Council Talent Summit. So next slide. So we are not without our fair share of challenges. So primary of which is WIOA funding. It's real. As I presented at the last full board meeting, WIOA funds for many states have decreased. We don't know what the future holds. I don't want to, cause anxiety, but in my written report, I made recommendations how to diversify our source of funds. Also, the National Governors Association will be speaking at our full board meeting in August to provide us some insights. We've been monitoring this item, and we've been talking to the folks who have their ears to the ground, and you will be apprised as soon as we hear anything different. But for now, the funding for 2025 has been released, at least the youth part, and inevitably it is anticipated that the other funding programs for adults and dislocated workers will also be released shortly. So next slide, I think the opportunities, or the same slide. We want to reflect that we want to champion operational excellence, and we want to strengthen board governance. So towards that end, we will continue to provide opportunities for our council members to better understand their duties and responsibilities, as well as WIOA. So, however, I think you will agree with me that the biggest opportunity is the implementation of the State Unified Plan. So for those of you who were not there, next slide. These are some of the photos from the Workforce Summit that was held on July 9th. We want to thank our Workforce Funders Collaborative, Chamber of Commerce, University of Hawaii for this partnership. And what emerged from that event through a long process is what we call the development of Hawaii's generational commitment. So I want to just shout out to Tui Scanlon and Angela Chalk, our Hele Imua intern, for sharing their stories. It was quite powerful, very moving for the beginning and end of the event. It was a perfect blend of what needs to be done, also with the compelling heart tug. So next slide is what's next. So this captures what needs to happen between now and September, including the public launch of the generational commitment. So we're trying to coincide it with September, since September is Workforce Development Month. So there'll be a team that will also help identify. In fact, we started it, and Keith DeMello was there to identify possible changes in the policy, which can be addressed legislatively. So next slide. For the third quarter, let me highlight Kauai, because we as a state board needs to function as a local board on Kauai, because there's no local board. So we don't have the operational capacity yet with, we just don't have enough resources. But as soon as we do, we would like to put a plan in place. And then next slide is the delineation of roles and responsibilities. I just wanted to publicly acknowledge the task force that has been meeting for the last year. It's composed of Deputy Director Bill Kunzman, ASO Administrator Lynn Araki Regan, and the WDD Administrator Maricar Pilotin Freitas. So the four of us have been meeting on a regular basis to pour over the WIOA mandates, and again, trying to determine a clear delineation of roles and responsibilities. And the hope is to put a memorandum of agreement together that can then spell these out and hopefully reduce the ambiguity. So next slide. Note this on your calendar. September 24 is a Future of Work conference. And one last plug, we want to hopefully have you think of workforce development heroes in your neck of the woods. The deadline is August 22 to submit the nominations. By the way, the form is online, so it's really easy to complete. So, but before I close, I just wanted to mahalo the team. Evan Palmer, Kelly Kitevis, and Angela Chalk. They have worked very hard, and I'm grateful for their support. So with the work we have before us, I think everybody has been stretched thin. But I think they have risen beautifully and competently, if I may add, to meet the expectation. This is Evan's last WDC meeting, because he's not going to be around for the last board meeting or for the next board meeting. So I just wanted to publicly thank him for coming through with some of our projects, including the redesign of the website. I don't know if you've seen it. It's just beautiful. You guys look awesome and handsome and whatever, beautiful. It's just a really nice reflection on WDC. So mahalo, Evan, for all that, and Godspeed. So this is also Angela's last WDC meeting. So allow me to also give her kudos for her incredible work while here at WDC. We've been very lucky to have such a capable and amazing intern. She jumped right in, picked up things quickly, and delivered high quality work with a great attitude. So whether it was research, planning, or pitching in wherever she needed, she handled it all with a pro. So I think we all know she's going places. We have a new name for her, the super intern. So in conclusion, Chair, even after 2 years, I want to showcase and that I'm still very committed to this role, that my commitment remains steadfast. Mahalo to you, Chair, for your leadership and for your support. I think moving forward, we would like to focus on building upon what we have already accomplished and aim for continuing collaboration with WDD, the DLIR, the Hawaii community, and other public agencies. So I know it sounds cliche, but I really believe the best is yet to come. So Imua, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Bennett, and thank you for your report. And Evan and Angela, you'll be missed, so thank you very much for your contributions to the council. Okay, I think we're on the last item of the agenda. Is that right? Okay, which is the evaluation of our beloved Executive Director, Bennett. And for this, we'll excuse Bennett and the staff while we discuss this item. And then we'll text them when we're done so we can come back and adjourn the meeting. So I want to give a little bit of background on why we're doing this and how we got here. Go ahead, Bennett.
We want to make sure that when we leave, you guys are still having a meeting. So I am removing myself as co-host, and then I think the staff is just going to leave the room.
Yes.
Okay, hang on.
We'll unplug, but I have as co-host, I'll stay on. I just
Okay,
remove my earphones.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen, give you kind of a, it's this one here. Okay, let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. Can everyone see the title WDC Executive Director's Annual Performance Review?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, thank you. And please go ahead and interrupt me because I can't see everybody here. As Bennett mentioned at the start of our meeting today, in September of last year, 2024, as a result of legislative action, the WDC regained its program ID and became once again an attached agency of DLIR. Previously, it was under WDD. Well, with that conversion back to an attached agency, it came with a couple of responsibilities, one of which is the evaluation of the executive director. That's number one. You can see there, I've labeled it number one. And the second item is to update Bennett's or the executive director's program description via HR. And I began this process, and a shout out to the Office of Information Practices, the WDC's legal counsel, Leanne Yamashura and Kelly Ha, as well as particularly the DLI or HR office. They've been really very, very helpful, giving me recommendations and explaining what past practice has been. So what we're going to do now is, and I thank you very much for completing the evaluation surveys. I'm going to share that with you, with everybody here. And this encompasses the last year. So we're perfectly timed that the evaluation period is from 7/1/2024 to 6/30/2025. So we're in that window right after that evaluation period, or that performance period, we're going to do her evaluation. And then after we share the results, we're going to have some discussions here and then decide whether or not Bennett is worthy of an additional bonus. And that's what was recommended to me by, again, DLIR HR, that typically for exceptional performances, a lump sum bonus would be given. So we'll discuss that. And then the second part of our discussion today will be to update the program position description. It has changed because previously Bennett was, and the WDC was under WDD. Now that we're an attached agency, the WDC is Bennett's supervisor. So there's some paperwork associated with that. And then importantly, the number of supervised positions that Bennett oversees has now increased from 1 to 3. And again, I saw DLIR's counsel and recommendation, And they said typically when this happens, and they gave me a number of about a 4% increase in compensation for the ED. So we'll get to that secondly. Just keep that in the back of your minds here. Okay, I'm going to share the evaluation now, and it's summarized because when I spoke with OIP, and the reason why we're doing this in an open meeting and not in executive session, you may have heard the news. There's been a lot of scrutiny and concern about certain boards meeting in private. Particularly, I think there were some complaints lodged recently about the HTA. There's a mass resignation there, and then there were other boards that also became that had lawsuits filed against them. So that's why we're doing it now. But the balance is that we'll keep the individual evaluations private, but share the collective summary results. So with that, let me go to here. Okay, there were 14 categories. The 14 categories are described here. Might be a little bit small for you to see there on your screen, but I think you have the evaluation forms yourself. And I've tallied the results, and of all of the responses for these 14 categories, the majority, a overwhelmingly majority, 80% of the responses were that her performance exceeds expectations. And 12% of the responses were meets expectations. And I highlighted categories 1 and 2 because on the form, and this is the form came from the state HR department for her position, kind of hard to read. It says significant categories are noted by star, and those categories are 1 and 2, the quality of work and the quantity and timeliness of work. And for those 2 categories, all of the responses came in at exceeds expectation. So very, very high marks. I also noted that the meets expectations were primarily in categories 3, 4, and 8. 3 and 4 relate to her supervision and appraisal of her subordinates, something that we don't have a lot of visibility, but I think it might be worth bringing this to her attention and having her report back on these 2 categories. And then category 8 is safety. So, barring paper cuts and any other, slips, trips, and falls, hopefully that the office environment doesn't pose any significant hazards. But again, I think it's worth asking what safety programs or what are the protocols that the office personnel has. And I can follow up with the state HR office on that if they have, and circulate that to everyone. Are there any questions, comments, discussion so far of what I've shared?
Hi, Ken. So I'm seeing at the top for the categories, is number 4 at 43% on top and 57% on the bottom? Is that number 4 appraising subordinates? I'm not tracking.
Yes. Category 4 is appraising subordinates. 43 of the responses came in exceeds expectations, and 57 came in at meets expectations.
And then 8 was safety. All right.
Yes.
I'm curious. I didn't know how to gain that. I'm appraising subordinates. I'm not involved in any reviews that she does for her staff. Am I reading that right? Maybe Derek, can I ask another HR person to?
That's how I read it. I think, and I had a similar, I guess, somewhat similar question. Like I did not give her an evaluation for that rate for that item because I don't have any insight to numbers 3, 4, and 8. Actually, I left them blank and I put NA as the comments. I'm curious to know where my score fell because it was neither exceeds or meets.
That's correct. So, and I thought about that. So that wasn't counted. So I did not assign, for those that left it blank, I did not assign an exceeds or meets or anything.
Got it.
And I did the same thing as well for, I think, safety and maybe one other category because I had no visibility. But it's good that we know that these are the categories because I think this is something that we should, raise in the future for her future evaluation, which will be a year from now.
Yeah, I would recommend just on an HR level that we be involved if we can in maybe just to support and seeing what the evaluations look like so that we can qualify that. I'll admit, I just put exceeds all on the form. Thank you to Thomas Louis for calling me and helping me get through it. I was on my phone. I was out of the office. But it did give me pause and I didn't realize I could put NA. I should have. But moving forward, I would just say for the record, we probably need to be a little bit more in tune if we're going to be rating her on that. Thanks.
I agree.
Good point. Ken, I'm just curious, does Bennett, and I don't recall what we talked about last year, but does she prepare a self-review of these same categories?
No, I don't think that is part of the
That is
standard.
not part of their review process. Oh, okay.
Right. That's my understanding after discussing. There's a number of emails that went back and forth and probably 3 or 4 different phone calls I've had with the HR office. I just had follow-up question after follow-up question.
Got it. Okay.
But she did have a copy, like she's aware of what she's being rated on. Like this form.
I think so. I did not confirm with her on that, but what I was planning to do, because this is an open forum meeting, of course, she'll have access to it. But I believe I have not shared that information. I presume it was been part of the employee packet, but I haven't. No, let me correct that. Because last year, the WDD was in charge of her evaluation. It was a different form.
Yeah, because that might have made a difference too. If she knew that these were categories that she would be rated on, then she might have volunteered information or been sure to report on.
Sure. Good point, yeah. Thank you. Okay, as I mentioned, the DLR HR office advised that if for circumstances where the evaluation is overwhelmingly positive, exceptional category, and we'll have some discussion on that, that the recommended raise, I can't raise, it would be a lump sum bonus of 2%. What is the committee's thoughts on that?
I wouldn't have any, this is Derek. I wouldn't have any objections to that.
Anyone have any concerns on that? And I want to also mention that every year she did get a prescribed raise there's a governor's executive order that is pertinent to her position, and I'd be happy to share that information as well. And she also did get a $2,000 bonus that's on 7/1, again, per that executive order. So this would be on top of, in addition to that. Lorna, yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ken. I had told Bennett that I'd have to leave like within the hour. So I'd have to leave now, but would I be able to cast a vote early? I'm not quite sure what the motion is.
Okay, we can, if we're ready, it sounds like we're wrapping up. If there's no further discussion, then I'd like to entertain a motion for a couple of things simultaneously. One is we advance the evaluations to the full board for sharing, and then secondly, to approve of the proposed lump sum bonus of 2% to the full board, also for final approval.
So moved.
Thank you, Terry. Second, that was by
Second, Carla.
Carla. Thank you, Carla. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone voting no or wishing to abstain? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. The second item, and Lorna, I don't know if you have a second to stay here. The second item, though, is the update of our position description. The position description, let me go back to the notes here. The position description will be prepared by DLR HR, and I've spoken with them, and I just received a copy of the draft. And Bennett now supervises a total of 3 positions. And again, I asked for their counsel, and I'd be happy to share the emails with you folks on that. And their recommendation that for such circumstances, what is typically done is a 4% raise in salary, not a bonus, but a 4% raise in salary due to the increased duties. So if there's any further discussions, questions, be happy to answer that. If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to, one, for the council to advance the executive committee to advance the updated position description to the full council for review and approval, and also to approve of a 4% increase in salary.
I have a question regarding the number. Like that raise is, the increase is tied to, it's from 1 to 3. And if we lose 1, does it go back down? You know what I mean? Like, what is the deal? Does it trigger at 2?
I did not ask that question. It's just that per the position description, there are now 3 positions, and let me, if I could share that with you here.
Oh, just like 3 positions authorized.
Correct.
Okay.
Whether or not, I think the
whether filled or not.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Carrie, you had a question.
Yeah, the positions like Dion had mentioned, it's going to go down to 1 because Angela is leaving because her internship is up, and then Evan is leaving right as of the middle of August. So she's only going to have Kelly.
Yes, but I think the intent was to fill those positions. We are authorized 3 positions, and though, as you mentioned, Carrie, and both Angela and Evan will be leaving, I think the intent is to fill them as quickly as possible. And I believe there's plans in the works to do that.
I mean, for what it's worth, I would consider efforts to fulfill vacancies part of that responsibility, aka the work.
Agree.
And what kind of metrics do we want to assign towards filling those positions? Is it within a certain time frame, or I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I think the challenge is it puts her into a realm of things that she cannot control. You know, she can only do her own effort, but then there's a little bit too loose. But I think if it is based off of positions authorized to be filled, then I don't object to that. But I think it's accountability to getting those filled. It's hard to pin down because she's not in control of the whole process.
Well, I think part of it is the funding, because Angela is being paid as an intern to Holly Imoa. And so we're talking about 2 different funding sources. And if the internship goes, then she cannot fill that position anyway. So if we're talking about filling a position which is going to be unfunded next year or in the future, I don't know. I mean,
I don't think the Holly Imoa, and I'll clarify this, position is considered under her supervision. I think that's something separate.
Yeah. I think
is
it's
that what Angela came out of? How is Angela? Because she's an intern. She's an intern. Where is the money for the internship coming? What is the funding source?
I thought that was authorized by the legislature. I'm just scrolling through this was the old position description. She just had 1 supervised position, and I don't know which this number corresponds to. And then the new one has 3, and that was from the HR department. And I don't think it was.
Of which one she's looking for, like more clerical, right, or admin. She has like
that's correct.
program assistants and clerical.
Okay.
So the 3 positions includes the positions which she talked about earlier.
I think the 2 positions, one for Evan, one for Kelly. And I don't have.
And
I
that's
think maybe that third one is the proposed one, right?
it's a new position, yeah.
Yeah, the new position.
It's a new
Because I don't think the intern is counted as part of staff.
Right.
If it's a new position, then it's like, so then Keith's recommendation would make sense in that part of it would be she would fulfill the 2 positions, Evan's position and the newly established, because I think she had mentioned an accounting position to do the.
Correct. And I think this would be part of the evaluation,
For next year.
as well.
Next year.
Correct. Right. We would say, how well did she fill these positions? She had 3. And so we would evaluate her on that.
Yeah.
Okay. I move that we accept.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor or all in, anyone in voting no or to abstain? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes. Both decisions were unanimous, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Lorna.
Thank
Okay, Lorna.
you. Sorry for waiting. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Blame Dion. No.
Wow.
No. Oops. I thought my mic was muted.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna text Bennett back. We are done. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Let me moving on, sliding down in my chair here. I'll give her a second to come back. What I'll think I'll do is I'll document maybe the people and what I know, because I think it's helpful. It's a complete learning experience for me. Find out what's done, how it's done, that sort of thing. So as one of you future chairs, so you don't have to relearn all of this. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And let's see here.
I noticed you said future chairs, nobody went off camera. We're all like, You do.
One of the things that I'm trying to have SOPs at my company, because we don't have any. We have few SOPs, and so it's helpful to not having to relearn all this stuff. Okay, well, I'm going to go continue on here. The next item on the agenda is announcements and constituent comments. At this time, the public is welcome to announce any upcoming events and comment on relevant issues that were not included in this meeting's agenda. Please be advised that in compliance with the Sunshine Law, the committee cannot discuss or act on issues that were not included in this meeting's agenda. But issues raised during this period may be included in a future agenda for the committee's consideration. Okay, do we have any public announcements or testimonies? Okay, hearing none. Our next meeting will be our regular board meeting, will be on August 20th at 9:30 a.m. This is our 3rd quarterly board meeting. Hope you can attend. The next executive committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, October 22nd at 1:30 p.m. And the executive meetings are held via Zoom. All right, any final questions, comments? If not, I'd like to adjourn our meeting and thank you all. And hopefully we don't have any more earthquakes and tsunamis.
Seriously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.